Welcome to the second pen font engine tutorial. In the last tutorial we got the engine so that it could nicely display a score in a Space Invaders type game. This tutorial we're going to extend that a little. We're going to look at a different backdrop. We have an adventure backdrop. I'm going to change from printing a score to printing something I prepared earlier. You are standing in a forest beside large doors that block your way into the mountains. Lights sparkle around the entranceway. Maybe magic lies beyond those doors. So we're going to look at much longer sentences. Let's see how this works if we just run it as is. It starts off well, you are standing in a forest, but beside doesn't fit on the screen and everything else just ends up in a lump at the edge of the screen. What we need to do is split the sentence in words. We don't want to just wrap the text around from the letter bes and put I'd on the next line. It has to be a word at a time. So forest would end that line and the next line would start with beside large doors. We need to break the sentence up at spaces. So let's have a look at the text sprite and see how we're going to do this. Currently it's going through the text string, which is fine. If there's a space, it just changes X, that's fine. Otherwise, it displays the character. So we know this. If it's not a space, it's the beginning of a word. So we need to check that entire word to make sure it fits on the screen. So instead of displaying it, we're going to do a check. We're going to set up a variable, X variable, with the current X position. So for this sprite only, we'll set X to X position. And I'm going to set up another variable called J. It's going to be another indexing variable. Because imagine that I is at the beginning of the word standing. I need to now scan ahead to see where that word finishes, but I don't want to alter the value of I want that left at the beginning of standing. So that's why I'm going to use another variable J. I'm going to set, where I've set X to X position, I'm going to set J to I. So it's pointing at the beginning of the word. And I'm going to scan through the word. So I'm going to repeat until we're either reached a space or we've reached the end of the sentence. So it's going to be an or. So repeat until I'll just duplicate that. Letter J, so I'll change that letter J. Letter J of text string is put a space in there, so it's not an empty one, there's actually space in there, okay? So until I've reached a space or I've reached the end of the sentence. So, or until J, and I'll just copy it from here, is bigger than the length of the text string. So that will scan to the end of the word, well, to the next space or to the end of the string. And for each character it scans, so if it's scanning ARE, it needs to change the X value by font width for each character. So change X by font width. So this will tell me where the X coordinate would be at the end of that word. So we need to check whether it's on the screen or not. And don't forget, we need to also change J by 1 because we're scanning through. And don't forget the scale value. It's not always font width, it's font width times by scale. So we've gone through, we know the X coordinate the word is going to finish at. So we'll say if that X coordinate is too big, so I'll not say completely off the left 240, I'll put 230. So if it's going to be very near the edge of the screen, then I will just set X back to the left hand side, which I've already set in a variable, text.left, and I'll move down a row. So I will change Y. Now I've already got font width. I'm going to change it by a variable which I will set up called font height for this sprite only. I'll set font height up in the initialize. So I've got to set font width to 22. I will set their font height, and I know that the font is basically 40 pixels tall at full scale. So I'll change Y, but I'm moving down the screen, which is negative. So instead of changing it by font height, I'll change it by 0 minus font height. Not just font height, don't forget. Font height multiplied by scale. So if the word wouldn't fit on, I'll drop down a line and move to the left. And then I need to display not just the one character, but the whole word. So I know that the index J is where it will be pointing at the end of the word. So I will repeat until I equals J. So I is at the beginning of the word and it needs to continue until I is at the end of the word. I need to set the character variable, so I might as well, I'll just do it again, set character to letter I. Of text string. As before, change the costume, make sure the size is right, make it white, stamp it, change the X to the next position, and so on. And obviously, now I'm doing it in a loop here. I don't want to change I there anymore. I want to change it in here because I'm printing the word the I index is scanning through in this loop. But that means when I'm doing the spaces, I'll need to change I in there as well. So change I by 1. So every time it hits a space, it moves to the next character in the string. Because here, where it's not spaces, it's changing to the next character string in that loop. And let's see how that works. Beautiful. Almost beautiful. You are standing in a forest beside large doors that block your way into the mountains. And I know why that is. If I look at the string, mountains has got a full stop after it. Doors has got a question mark. I haven't defined those yet. So let's go into the costumes. Right down to the bottom. And before the end marker, we'll duplicate that last character. Do it twice because I've got a full stop and a question mark to add. So that one is going to be full stop. To a full stop. And this one is going to be character question mark. Change it to a question mark. Run the code, and there we go. Perfect. It no longer splits across the right hand side of the screen. It no longer goes right off the screen. It splits properly. So what else can I do with this? Well, I've already got a left side margin. How about I control how far to the right it can go? So looking at the code, I've got a variable for text.left. So let's add another one, text.right for all sprites. And it's going to default text.right as 240. So if I don't set the variables anywhere else, when it's initialized, it's going to set with the left at the left hand side of the screen and text.right at the right hand side of the screen. And the only thing I need to change to use text.right is here where it's checking X against a number. I want to check it against text.right. So if it's gone past that point, it needs to move down a line. So run that. Looks pretty much the same. Let's go into backdrop and let's add text.right and let's make it 0. So it's only displaying up to the middle of the screen. Let's see how well that works. See, and I can now control the right hand border. I can control how my text looks. It's a bit big. Let's make the text smaller, make it 50% size, and there we have it. You're standing in a forest beside large doors that block your way into the mountains. Lights sparkle around the entranceway. Maybe magic lies beyond those doors. Perfect. So I'll end that tutorial there. In the next tutorial we'll look at ways of making this look even better.